Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to the Medium's Table. I'm your host, Michelle Gardner. This podcast is your personal invitation to join me at the intersection of the everyday and the extraordinary. Together, we'll explore the magic of mediumship, share spiritual stories, and connect with fellow mediums on this incredible journey. So grab a seat, pour yourself a cuppa, and come join us at the Medium's Table, where spirits gather and stories unfold. Disclaimer, just a heads up to all our lovely followers. Our social media is a space where we share personal stories, including those of various mediums. Let's keep the vibe positive and respect each other's beliefs. Every journey is unique, and here we celebrate the diversity of experiences. I'd like to welcome to the show Christian Williams. How are you today, Christian?
I am doing very well. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for joining us. Now, we've known each other for a little while now. We've knocked around in a few practice circles, and I have been keen to get you on here because I am very, very curious about your journey as a medium. And I know, because you've mentioned in snippets, and all I've had is snippets, that you're not just a medium, you do other things as well. So I'm really keen for you to get started and for you to share with us how you became, how you got to where you are today, how you became a medium and other things.
Okay. Well, I was always psychically sensitive since I was a little kid. I didn't really understand what that was initially. I had early memories of, for lack of a better phrase, being in the before life with my siblings before we incarnated into our current incarnations. And after I incarnated as Christian Williams, I was aware of certain past life memories that I talked with my mom about. My mother was very open about that stuff. And my mother also did astrology, so she had done my chart. And my chart is interesting in that I'm Sun in Cancer, Moon in Cancer, Venus in Cancer, North Node in Cancer, all in the 8th house with Scorpio rising. And the Scorpio rising is like 28 degrees Scorpio. At any rate, that setup in a chart says that I'm very psychic and very connected to the spirit realms. I'm not an astrologer. I just know my own chart a little bit and I've been exposed to it. So I know more than the average person, but I'm not an astrologer, so I don't do that. At any rate, when I was 6 years old, my great-grandmother, Sally Hatfield, appeared to me. I woke up in the middle of the night and she was there standing by my bed. And she was, in this old dress with her hair, tied up and in a couple of braids and looking very neat. And I was scared to death because I didn't know who this lady was and why she was in my bedroom. And so I hid under the covers. And then, I thought to myself, well, why am I hiding under the covers? And then I peeked out from under the covers again and she was gone.
Wow.
She did not appear to me again until I was 17 years old.
I love that your grandmother appears because it's almost like they present someone who's comforting first, don't they, usually? Just to test it, just to test the waters. Let's bring you someone that you know.
Right. And I honestly think if I hadn't hid under the covers and I had been more receptive, then that my clairvoyance would have come on a lot earlier than it did. And I think it basically things would have developed a lot sooner than they did. I didn't see her for another 17 years. And when I did see her, I was at my grandparents' house. So she was my great grandmother. So she was my grandmother's grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I was at my grandparents' house, and it was the same thing. Middle of the night, I woke up, and she appeared to me. This time, I talked with her, or tried to talk with her. And it was more, I can see you, but I can't hear you. And it's that sort of thing. So the clairvoyance was there, but there wasn't really clairaudience. I could feel the love, but I didn't really have a good understanding of what was going on, other than she was saying, hello, I'm here, I'm around. That is really pretty much it. Then my junior year of university, I was on exchange from Northwestern to the University of Sussex in England. And at the University of Sussex, I was exposed to spiritualist churches. And I was also exposed to friends who were into tarot cards. And I bought my first deck of tarot cards and started using those. My first deck was the Marseille deck, and my second deck was the Crowley deck. And I really like both of those decks for different reasons, even though I only use the Crowley deck for myself, and I rarely use the Marseille deck. But just it for sentimental reasons, I love that deck. Okay.
Yeah.
And it was nice to have friends to be able to talk about this stuff with. And so that was my introduction, and I started learning tarot a little bit on my own. And then when I went back to Chicago, my senior year at Northwestern, there was a metaphysical bookstore called Isis Rising that was at that time in Rogers Park. They later moved to Evanston, but when I lived there, they were in Rogers Park. And there was a woman there who taught tarot. And I took her tarot class, and she used the Crowley deck to teach tarot. And it was a really good class. I really enjoyed it. And it was where I learned the 22 card Gypsy spread, which is still one of my favorite spreads, which I don't use very often unless people specifically ask for it, because it takes an hour to do.
Wow.
It takes at least an hour to do, and it's a comprehensive spread. So it's not like you see the kind of spread you see on YouTube that people generally do. And but it's a very good spread, and it's very comprehensive, and I love doing that spread for people, and it's very insightful for them, and people really enjoy that. At any rate, I started doing tarot for people after I graduated from college, off and on, by word of mouth. I didn't really put my shingle out there, as a professional, even though people would pay me to do it on occasion. And I did do it for a fundraiser in Chicago. And that was fun. And then when after my grandparents transitioned to spirit, and I went down to help my mom and my aunts and uncles clear out their house, my great-great-grandmother appeared to me again in the same room she appeared to me before, but this time she wasn't alone. She appeared with my grandparents. All three of them were there. And that was amazing.
Wow.
And my grandmother, who I'd been close to, walked over to the bed, sat down on the bed by me, held my hand. I couldn't feel her hand, but I could feel the love, and I couldn't hear them still, but I could, feel the love, and I was able to see all three of them.
Mm.
And their, images, faded again. So one thing I forgot to mention is, because this was in 1986 when this happened, but back in 1984, when I was still at the University of Sussex, I went to the Spiritualist Association of Great Britain, and I had a reading by a medium by the name of Tony Jenkins, who was, a very nice older queen. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was a good gentleman for me to have a reading from. And he told me things about myself that I did not yet realize. And one of the things he also told me about myself is that I had a lot of psychic mediumship gifts, but that I was on a timer, and that they would not kick in until I was around 38 years old.
Wow.
Okay. Well, that prediction from 1984 was spot on. To my birthday, spot on.
Really?
To my 38th birthday, spot on.
Wow.
Okay. I a month before, well, not a month, about 3 weeks before my 38th birthday, I was packaged out of my job at JP Morgan Chase. And needless to say, I ended up suing them, and I'm glad I sued them. But
no regrets.
No regrets about suing them. They deserved it. But anyway, 3 weeks late, on my birthday, I had this spontaneous past life regression, which was like very strange. Okay. I was feeling very psychically sensitive and stuff. And so I needed to lay down. So I started laying down. And then these spirits came to me one by one. And they started showing me horrible things.
Oh.
One was that I had been an Asian man who'd been captured somehow and in a net and boiled in oil. That's how I was executed. One was that my heart had been ripped out because I was sacrificed in some sort of Central American sacrificial ceremony. One was being raped as a little girl a few thousand years ago. One was being abducted from planet Earth by a gray alien with big eyes. One was being gang raped as a woman in China.
Wow.
There were like 8 of these. And I instinctively knew with each one that these were souls who had done these things to me in past lives. And they needed my forgiveness to move on. They needed my forgiveness to forgive themselves.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I, didn't even remember these things. Okay. Which is why they had to remind me of them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, and in reminding me of them, I basically said, yes, I forgive you, and I asked the angels to take them to a place of re-education and light. cleanse them of their hate for themselves and to forgive themselves. Okay, because basically, God doesn't judge us; we judge ourselves.
Yeah.
Okay, and we are our own worst judge.
Yeah.
Okay, when we transition to spirit, we are very much in touch with every nasty, negative thing we've done to other people.
Yeah.
Okay, and there are no secrets from spirit. Spirit knows everything.
Yeah.
Okay. You can't get away with anything, even if you think you can.
No, that's right.
You have to make amends for it in this life, or the afterlife, or the next life. Okay.
Yeah. That's it.
That's it. So anyway, so after I had gone through those spirits, I found myself to be fully open to spirit and unchained. And then I chanted for the first time.
Yeah.
I knew they were prayers, but basically one of my spirit guides came into me, and I believe it was Vajendra. But it's so long ago I don't remember which one. But Vajendra is is probably one of my most important spirit guides, and he's been around me for 5,000 years. So I'll just put that out there.
You're comfortable.
Okay. Where was I going with this? So basically, I basically was on autopilot. So in a way, it's like that was the first time I ever channeled anything.
Yeah, right.
Okay, that I was first entranced, and my vocal cords were on autopilot and just going, and I was observing. And after that, I was fully open to spirit, and all my passed on relatives and friends were, in my room and in my backyard and all around me. Relatives had been dead before I was even born. They were all there visiting me on my birthday.
Wow.
Okay. So that's how right Tony Jenkins was.
Yeah. Geez, one hell of a celebration. Everyone was invited.
Right. Now the thing of it is, though, now I'm fully opened, with my psychic senses, but I'm totally untrained.
Yeah.
Okay. And oh God, and Diana Munz-Chen has a special name for that in her channeling book. And I'm going to have to look that up. I think it's psychic emergency.
Okay. Yep.
But I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
But basically, it's when you're completely open and completely untrained and basically not in control of your abilities.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. So anyway, that started a very interesting period where I can remember going to the Blavatsky bookstore. It's not the Blavatsky bookstore. It's something else. I forget the name of the organization, but it's about Blavatsky and that stuff on the Upper East Side. And I went in there and I was looking at metaphysical books, and there was a woman in there, and her grandmother's spirit was around her and stuff. And I just said, your grandmother's spirit is like right here with you. And normally I would never have considered doing that normally, but because it was the place,
Mm.
I felt like the person would be open to it, and I did. And she's like, "Oh yeah, she's with me all the time." So
Oh, wow.
conversation, but and there was also, I went to the Javits Center, and I talked with a lady, and her mother was there, and I told her mother was there, and her mother was talking about, like a wedding cake recipe that she makes, and she knew exactly what I was talking about. And so it was just funny things started like happening all over the place.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But I was, like I said, I was completely untrained and didn't know what to do with it, and didn't really do anything with it. I was embroiled in my lawsuit against J.P. Morgan Chase, and so I basically, the mediumship, was there, but it took a backseat to, my fight with the
Mm.
corporation,
Mm. Mm.
and that stayed that way until 2007. I took a class on the law of attraction, and it introduced me to Esther Hicks. And I told my mother about it, and my mother unfortunately transitioned to spirit a few weeks later. And but the day my mother transitioned to spirit, which was the day after the day before Thanksgiving in
Oh,
2007,
yeah.
she appeared to me looking 25 years old, informing me of the fact that she had transitioned to spirit. She basically told me she was dead. And and she looked great. She looked 25 years old. And I didn't know whether or not to be happy she was okay, sad she was spirit, or annoyed she was off to party and I wasn't invited, which was exactly, my mother's personality.
Yeah.
And I didn't get the official word that she had died for another 6 hours, because I was up to catch a flight to Indianapolis to meet my sister, one of my sisters, to for Thanksgiving, because we were supposed to have Thanksgiving at my sister Lisa's house, and we still ended up having Thanksgiving there, but it was a very different Thanksgiving than was attended. And I was able to tell two of my sisters what had happened, but I wasn't able to tell my third sister, because she's a fundamentalist Baptist, and I still feel her belief system is more rigid.
Yeah.
And so I just don't feel, I just feel I have a whole lot of spirit experiences that I just can't talk about with her.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel that's unfortunate, but
Yeah.
yeah. So anyway, after that experience with my mother, I realized that I really needed to have some professional training, with the mediumship. So I did some internet searches and stuff, and I found this class taught by James Van Praagh at the Omega Institute in Rhinebeck, New York. So I signed up for that, and I trekked up to Rhinebeck, New York, to take his class. And it was a big class. There were like, I don't know, close to 100 people in it, maybe more than 100 people in it, I forget. But it was in the big building up there, the main hall. And it was a really good class, especially because of all the connections I made with people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, so there were people there who, who told me about the Holistic Studies Institute in New York. They told me about the Journey Within Church in New Jersey. Things I just didn't know anything about.
Yeah.
And also, there was a woman there, Marion McGarry, who has passed on to spirit, who was setting up development circles in Stamford, Connecticut. And I was able to sign up for her development circle. And I, trekked up to Connecticut for, 2 or 3 years just to attend her circle on a weekly basis.
Wow.
I mean, it's
yeah.
easy to do because, she's relatively near the train yeah. So anyway.
Yeah. Wow. So through all of that, basically going to one training class, you've now come across all this information, or met all these people. Right. So it's almost like then little pieces of the puzzle start to come together, don't they, for you? The information starts coming out, the right people start coming into your life, and it all just starts to come together, doesn't it?
Right. So then I started taking psychic mediumship development classes at the Holistic Studies Institute, run by Stephen Robinson. And I took his full sequence of development classes. I think it was 6 altogether, but I might be wrong on that. But it was at least 6. And then he also did a seminary, so to become a spiritualist minister. And that was another 2 years. And I did that. And I was ordained, I think, in 2011 as a spiritualist minister. So I'm also a spiritualist minister. I don't believe in churchianity, though.
Yeah.
I
didn't know you were. I did not know that I did not know you're a spiritual minister.
Yeah. Well, technically, yeah. I mean, I did the seminary. I got ordained. I just don't believe in churchianity. Although I do believe in spiritualist centers, and that sort of thing.
So what does it mean to be a spiritual minister? What does that entail?
Well, it depends on who you ask. I mean, if in the traditional sense, it means that you're affiliated with a spiritualist church and you run services on a regular basis.
Okay. Yep. Okay.
And you, in some ways, mimic a Protestant church, but with a spiritualist twist.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. You have a meditation, you have a healing, you have messages.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it's more of a traditional way of doing things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that partly came about because spiritualism was trying to get accepted as a religion. And so instead of being something completely new and different and making its own path, it had to take on a lot of the attributes of the old religions.
Yeah. To be acceptable, so to speak. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Wow. So where did you go from there?
Okay. So from there, I took more classes. I'm trying to think who came first. I took stuff with Lee Van Zyl at the Montclair Metaphysical Center, which I think is just now the Metaphysical Center. She's no longer in Montclair, but she's in New Jersey. But Lee Van Zyl, who's this wonderful South African medium and energy healer. And I also did the 2-year program with the Inner Spiritualist Center in Wayne, New Jersey, with Sharon Siubas and Bill Kohler, and Richard Scholler. And that was very good. And then I did 2 years of online mentorship with Mavis Patilla, who was a senior tutor at Arthur Findlay College in Stansted for, I guess, years and years. And then I also did 2 years with Paul Jacobs online as well. And yeah. So,
wow. So you've done a lot of classes. You've met a lot of great teachers.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And that's given me a lot of, because here's the thing, I don't want to be out there and doing this if I can't do it right.
Yeah.
And I want to do it right for everybody, for spirit.
Yeah.
Especially.
Yeah.
Because basically when you're a medium, you're working for spirit. I mean, the sitter may or may not take the message. Okay, but you've got to be clear in your connection with spirit and be able to, interpret correctly what spirit is giving you. And because spirit will correct you if you misinterpret something. And you've got to be confident enough in yourself to take that correction and say, wait, I'm being corrected. Spirit's correcting me. There's now. So that's my story. And I mean, what Mavis and Paul tried to do, and I think do very effectively. Mavis is in spirit now, but she still comes through and, when I'm doing things, and she does that for all her students. She's really wonderful that way. A lot of these mediumship teachers that teach mediumship teach it for the average person who wants to learn it, who wants to learn to communicate with their own loved ones or something like that. Mavis and Paul are out to turn you into a professional mediumship.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. It wasn't until Mavis that I was really comfortable in doing platform.
Yeah. And that can be pretty nerve-wracking, can't it, as a new medium? Right. Yeah, right. In front of people.
And platform is a very different animal. Because when you're doing platform, everybody in the audience wants a message. There are message grabbers.
Yeah.
You got to really be clear and you got to listen when Spirit says, no, I'm not with her,
Yeah. Because everybody just wants it to be them, don't they?
Right.
Yeah.
So it's a very different animal than, if you're in with a client and it's a one-on-one, who the stuff is for.
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
so
and also
with platform, sorry, Christian, can I just interrupt for a minute? For those who are listening and watching, what is platform? What does that mean for those that don't know?
All right. Well, platform is basically a medium or a couple mediums in front of an audience, okay, giving messages from spirit to individuals in the audience. Okay. Yeah. And there are two ways that messages can be given, either direct or indirect. Indirect messaging, okay, spirit will tell the medium exactly who the person is in the audience that they want to go to, and so I will say, hey, you, ma'am, in the purple shirt in the third row, sitting over there. I have a message for you. Would you please stand up, please, and state your name. All right, then go into it, and in indirect, we give evidence. Okay, and then say, well, I think I'm like over here somewhere. Who can take, who can understand, everything I've said so far. Okay, it might be 1, 2, 3. Okay, and you give more evidence to narrow it down. Okay. Now, efficiency-wise, direct is more efficient. Entertainment-wise, and keeping, the audience, involved, indirect is better. So this is why I say gallery is a very different animal, because in gallery, you have to give messages, but you also have to be an edutainer.
Yeah. Okay.
You have to educate and entertain at the same time.
Yeah.
And, so that's kind of a hard thing, especially when you're dealing with people who are grieving.
Yes. And there's a lot that would be a lot of pressure on you. You're up there on stage, you're receiving messages from spirit, you've got to be tuned in and connected. You're also dealing with people in the audience who may or may not understand the process. You're trying to give the right message to the right person. Like you said, then you're dealing with people who are grieving. You're dealing with message grabbers who are just, they're desperate for a message and want to make it fit.
Right.
So that's a lot going on really for the medium on stage, isn't it? For you as the medium.
And you also, more than anything else, okay, is you want everyone to leave at the end of the demonstration uplifted.
Yeah.
Even if they came in grieving and did not receive a message.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a big goal.
Yeah. So there's a lot to this, isn't it? Really is a lot to it doing platform.
There is a lot to it. And so one of the things I talk about, okay, and I do this, I try to do this in every dem. Okay. I talk about the easiest way for spirit to communicate with us is in our dreams.
Yeah.
I mentioned the fact that in the Bible, Joseph was a dreaming medium. Okay. Christianity exists because Joseph acted on his dreams.
Yeah.
Okay. If he hadn't acted on his dreams, Christianity would not exist.
Yeah. 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 So it plays a big part in history.
Yeah. So yeah. Okay. If you have a loved one in spirit that you really want to hear from, there is an exercise that you can try, and it works most of the time. Okay. And basically, before you go to bed, okay, like right before you go to bed, write down on a sheet of paper the name of the loved one you want to hear from and invite them into your dreams.
Yeah.
And write down that sentence 5 times. Okay, right before you go to bed. Do that, 3 to 7 nights in a row. Okay. Usually by the 3rd night, they will appear to you in your dream. And your dream will be a more vivid dream. And you will know that it's a visitation.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Now, the bad thing about that is, yeah, you'll realize it when you wake up, but, the memories of dreams tend to fade rather quickly. So if you want, to remember the dream more thoroughly, you're going to either have to write it down right away or, have a recording app on your phone. You hit record and say, oh, so-and-so came to me. And, they told me this and this and this. And we were like on the beach and blah, 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 blah,
Yeah.
If you want to remember the dream, you got to do that. And
yeah,
if you do that, you will remember more aspects of it.
Yes. It's like you got to capture it quickly.
Right. Yes. But you got to capture it quickly because the conscious mind, will slap it back into the unconscious part of yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. But basically, I think it's important that everyone know all relationships are eternal and that we never really lose anyone. Okay. Yeah. Everyone still exists. They're just non-physical.
Yeah. And that's gold for so many people that, the average everyday person that just wonders what happens to them. Where do they go when they're gone? Are they just gone? But they're not. Like you said, they've just transitioned.
The how should I put this? When we become incarnate in this physical plane of existence, in this physical dimension, we have our blinders on. Okay. We are in this world, this physical universe. But it is not the only one. There are worlds within worlds within worlds. There are universes within universes within universes.
Yeah.
What the divine creator created is so incredibly more vast and wonderful and beyond belief that it is really beyond human comprehension. There are no real words for it.
Yeah.
And there are people who, because through those filters, they only see this world.
Yeah.
This is all there is.
Yeah.
And I feel sorry for those people.
Yeah.
And I know that someday they will realize that there's more than this, world. Okay. But
yeah,
some people live and learn. Other people have to die to learn,
Yeah.
And there are way too many people who have to die to learn in the afterlife or the next incarnation.
Yeah. That's so true. Yeah. Wow. Oh, well, thank you so much, Christian. You've given so much wisdom. You've had an incredible story. And it never ends. As a medium, it never ends, does it? It just continues. You're always learning. You're always developing. It's not just I've learned that now. Now I know everything. It is a forever path to be on, isn't it? Really?
Yes.
Yeah. Incredible. And I love your little tip on the dreams to tap in, to try and connect with a loved one. I think that is very valuable for many people. It's a simple exercise to do and something that everyone can do to be able to have that communication or that connection again. It's fantastic. I love that. So thank you so much, Christian, for being on the show with me today. It has been an absolute pleasure, and I know we'll definitely have you back. Now, where can people find you?
Well, they can find me on Facebook, Christian Psychic Medium.
Mm-hmm.
And they can email me at christianpsychicmedium at gmail.com.
Fantastic. Now, I'll put those in the show notes as well, so that information will be there for everyone.
Right.
And thank you once again. And we look forward to having you on the show very, very soon.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. To view the show notes, head over to themediumstable.com.au. If you want to watch these episodes, head over to our YouTube channel, The Medium's Table Podcast.